Hello, everyone. We had a little bit of a delay today getting started due to a technical issue, but we're all here now. Let me introduce Britta, who will be our moderator for today and who will present the different speakers and manage the Q&A session. I'll be hanging out in the background, helping out on the technical aspects. Hope you have a good session. Britta, it's all yours.
Thank you, Eugene, for the kind introduction. Hello and good evening, everyone, to today's event webinar, where we talk about how to start a global startup in Frankfurt. As Eugenio mentioned, I am an FI director. I'm an entrepreneur based in Frankfurt since 25 years, established my executive search boutique since 17 years, and co-founded and ahead last year a career platform which supports and guides mid-career women with their back to work journey after a break. Entrepreneurship and the Frankfurt startup ecosystem is very close to my heart. And I feel privileged to be able to host today's event as one of the 5 directors of Founder Institute Frankfurt, and introduce this great, diverse and top performance lineup of speakers that showcase great success stories of local projects that scale and disrupted their industries. So let me briefly outline the agenda of today. We're going to have, first of all, an introduction of the 4 speakers for 15 minutes each. Then we are going to have Founder Institute introduction. So what is Founder Institute? What is the program about? And then it's all for you, a Q&A session to be able to ask questions to those great speakers. And now let me introduce to you the 4 panelists of today. So we have Chiara Thanner, started her career at EY and then Goldman Sachs, but wanted to create a bigger impact and joined InnoClexis, where she became the project leader, entrepreneur of Korea, a recently launched app developed for cancer patients to find the best available cancer treatment. Korea is a part of InnoClexis AG, a company founded 2011 by Gunjan Badwai in Eschborn. It's also present in the US and India. We second have Philipp Weber, partner at FPS, focusing on venture capital and M&A transactions, who was recognized by Handelsblatt as one of the best M&A lawyers in 2020 in Germany. He also is a member of the advisory board at Wingcopter, which was founded in 2014 and is today a leading German drone company from Darmstadt that develops autonomous delivery drones for commercial and humanitarian applications, and was selected out of hundreds of candidates as one of the World Economic Forum's latest technology pioneers. And then we are going to have Christina Oster, Daum, founder and CEO of Cosnova. She started her career in FMCG marketing before she founded Cosnova, a beauty company with a focus on innovative, high quality, and affordable decorative cosmetics products. Founded in 2001 in Sulzbach. Cosnova, with its 3 brands, Essence, Catrice, and Love, today employs approximately 650 people at the headquarters and offices in New York and Milan. Essence is the highest selling cosmetic brand across all price segments, making it Europe's #1 in 2013. So now we are going to start with our first speaker, Chiara Thanner, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Britta, and yeah, pleasure to speak here with such amazing panelists. So thank you so much, and also for the lovely introduction. I come from, maybe I can introduce myself. I come from like a super normal, basic background. Grew up in Bavaria, in Allgäu, and in a super small and boring town. Then came to Frankfurt for the job, worked for EY in financial services. So we consulted all the big banks in Germany, lots of travel on an international level also. It was super exciting. I remember when I started there. Then even more exciting when Goldman Sachs recruited me. I remember, like, of course, after like 9 interview rounds, I was so happy and thought, oh, it's so great to work for such a successful company. And yeah, of course, with all the like thousands of LinkedIn invites every day. But then there was something on my heart, which I think every entrepreneur kind of has that. Working for like a big company which is so successful, it kind of gives you a feeling after a while that it's actually not because of me that it's so successful. Like, I joined when it already was successful. So there was always something on my heart where I really wanted to help something growing big, which has an impact. And then I met Gunjan, which is also a mentor here, and quite often having talks. And I knew about Inoplexus and what Inoplexus does. And yeah, he gave me the amazing opportunity to build up Curia, the app, and yeah, to experience all of that. And I have to say, like, with all work experience that I have, actually the last year, I learned the most, like, I think in my whole life. Also because, yeah, when you build a product, you kind of want to be involved in everything, like in data protection, in law, like which laws are applicable for us, in marketing, how do we want to look in front of the world, how do we answer to patient requests and all these things. So it's connected, of course, to a lot of work, but at the same time to a lot of experience. So I'm happy to share that experience, and I hope it can be helpful for the people here. So I want to share the 3 lessons I've learned in my career, which I think would be really helpful, and that also helped me in building up Curia. So the first lesson is, I call it the cutting throats competition. So what so many people told me throughout my career is, you have to eat others, else you're eaten by others. And for me, that was kind of hard because I'm kind of a kind person. So I thought, like, I don't want to be ruthless and brutal and being that kind of a leader. But yeah, with the time, I met so many inspiring people that really showed me that there is also another way to do it. And even if you get that advice from others, I think it doesn't mean that you can't be the first person to do it differently. So I think, and I believe, and I hope that inspires a lot of people that you always also can be a kind leader and just honest but direct. And I think that will help for also kind of building a better world in the future. Then the second lesson is doubts, which I have, you know, building up a product takes months, maybe years, and you tell a lot of people about your product, the idea, the challenges maybe, and you hear so many, so many different opinions. And I think it's just a matter of time that you hear the words, what if? So what if someone sues you? What if someone doesn't like you? What if the reactions are different than expected? And that kind of brings also some insecurity for some people. And I really experienced that these things happen, and it's good because you can be prepared once you launch a product through these things. But at the same time, I felt like these things shouldn't discourage people. So they should prepare you, but they shouldn't, discourage you, because you can only be number one, really, if you do something unexpected, and something unexpected is always connected to some risk. You never can exactly predict how the reactions and how the answers are in the market. So you kind of have to take a risk and have the courage to do things, because closing yourself in a room and be safe, it kind of doesn't help. So even if there are different opinions and different risks or fears, you can still mitigate them as much as you can, but you should still believe in your product. And I think in a lot of times after you launch and after you see the reactions, you're so happy and think back, oh, why did I have all these worries before? So that's the second lesson. And the third one is, I hear that so often, but for me this is so important, is the team. Because without the team, kind of a product is nothing. I also would be nothing without my wonderful team. And I think often it's also, some people think that you can just hire new people, but it's actually having a great team which stands by your side in good and in bad times boosts your work so much. So I really believe that the success of a product also depends on the team and the people that are working with you, and also on your leadership skills. And in the end, then it doesn't really feel like work. It kind of feels like a family, which is even nicer and I think even better for everyone to work with. So that you have the full picture, I'll also quickly speak about what Curia is. So in Plexus, we have this a lot of data and AI. So we kind of wanted to use this data to help cancer patients, because we received a lot of requests before. So we launched Curia for 10 cancer indications. It is for free for iOS and Android, and it's based on a questionnaire. So the patient answers a questionnaire on the cancer type, stage, genetic mutations, and then gets the treatments which are available for it in US and Germany, and also some off-label alternatives, and clinical trials. And a really great thing is that patients can apply to those trials through the app, which should make it like one step easier for patients to reach the trials and for trials to get patients. And then this third one is experts, so therapeutic experts who have done a lot in that specific cancer type, to also help the patients to find like a contact for the first or even second opinion. So overall, yeah, just for information purposes, and to help patients. And yeah, we launched just 2 weeks ago. So the last 2 weeks have been so exciting for all of us, and also to see the reactions on the market. And it was just like amazing. Every day I was so happy. Influencers sharing us like for free, patients commenting, writing us messages, even oncologists. So it was a really great experience. And we launched first in Germany because we're a German company. And we were also super happy that we were like supported, like FAZ wrote about us, also Handelsblatt wrote about us. And we got like a lot of traction also through that. And of course, thanks for speaking here too. And yeah, we received also collaboration requests, which was really great. And I would be super happy if also whoever sees this, or you guys, help us sharing the message with people you might think it would be useful for. And also give me some feedback if you have some. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Chiara. I think, and Britta, correct me should I be wrong, it's I'm the next one here in the row. My name is Philipp Weber, and thanks, Britta, for the kind introduction, and thanks to all of you for having me here in this panel discussion. I'm a partner for M&A and venture capital with FPS, a German law firm with 130 attorneys in Germany. I'm full service, and I'm focusing really on M&A and venture capital work. I'm advising a portfolio of 6 investors. Amongst them are names like Main Incubator or Augmentum Venture Capital, capitalist from London, and a portfolio of 15 startups. To name a few from the region, it's Wincopter and Tech4Med or Nelumbox. And with Wincopter, I'm sitting on the supervisory and advisory board. And I've been advising them and helping them since the early beginnings. Because in addition to my work as a lawyer, I'm a mentor at several universities for startup incubation and acceleration. And I have my own event series here in Frankfurt with the B for Startup Breakfast, which I'm moderating, or other events. Yeah, the topic of tonight or today is how to startup in Frankfurt. First of all, I would say that we should not say how to startup in Frankfurt, but how to startup in the Frankfurt region. Because I think the strength of Frankfurt is not the city itself, it's the region where Frankfurt is located. We have a lot of universities surrounding Frankfurt, not only the universities in Frankfurt, but Darmstadt, Heidelberg, Gießen, Marburg, to name a few. And there we have lots of talents, in particular talents for founding tech startups. And from my perspective, that are the really interesting startups. And therefore, we shall have a broader view on Frankfurt and the region. And in the last years, from my experience, not only the startup and venture capital ecosystem in Frankfurt developed at a very high pace, for example, with the Tech Quartier and lots of events, also to name the Founder Institute here in Frankfurt, which we are supporting, but also in the other cities and at other universities, with incubators at universities, with event series, with co-working spaces. That's been really a great development. And to share some insights from working with Thinkcopter, but also from working with other startups is, first of all, my advice to early stage founders is get prepared. There is so much information available, and even available for free on the internet or in books. So you should read the standard literature on venture capital, like, for example, 4 Steps to Epiphany or Blitzscaling, all those great books. You should attend all the events available in the region and talk to other founders, entrepreneurs, and venture capitalists as early as possible. So discuss your ideas with them, get feedback, pivot. You should also watch the TV series Silicon Valley. Although it's more a kind of a comedian, the mistakes made by the founders of the fictional startup Pied Piper, I have seen them in reality. For example, founders thinking they pitch in front of investors, but they turn out to be their competitors or something like that. So, from founders spending huge amounts of money on their closing party of the financial round, or for raising money at a too high valuation and then being forced into a down round subsequently. All those things you can see in this TV series. So my advice is watch it. I think it's available on Sky Ticket. The next point is keep it simple. In particular, when you are bootstrapping or when the funds available are limited. Keep everything as simple as possible. So follow the lean startup model or the 80-20 rule, because complex structures, in particular complex text structures, they cost time and money, and they shift the focus away from product development, customer journey, etc. Therefore, keep it simple, and yeah, first things first. Next thing is very important, and Chiara mentioned it already. Think about what investors are investing in. Investors are investing in a great idea. That's true in the first place. But ideas, there are many ideas available in the market, and many people have ideas, but execution is crucial for a successful startups. And for execution, you need to be a genius yourself as a single founder, or you need to have a great team. So team is really, really important. Come up with a great team. You can also try it as a single founder, but it's easier with a great team. And moreover, investors look at market sizes, in particular international investors. So think about your market, come up with a large market, or think big. Start with a small market, but have the opportunity to develop into a big, huge market. Maybe you must also understand the investor side. So get yourself in the shoes of an investor. For a fund from Silicon Valley, it does not make sense to deploy 1 million euros here in Germany. So they need to deploy several millions of euros. Therefore, you need to have a high valuation, and a high valuation you only get when you have a huge market. Then the last point is pitch as much as you can, because from pitching you build up your network, first of all. Second is you get feedback and you can pivot. And third is you build competition amongst investors. As I said before, it's in particular for tech startups and for hardware startups. You need a lot of money for the development of the prototype, but even more money for the development of the production line and setting up the production line. And therefore, you ideally you should really start your seed round with a high valuation. And you only get a high valuation when there is competition, because there is the fair value of a startup and there is a price an investor is willing to pay. And when you are starting to talk just with one business angel or a couple of business angels, the price they come up with is the price, and therefore the value of your startup. However, the more investors you are talking with, the higher the price gets when they are really interested. And therefore, always talk to several investors. That's really important. And do not wait with term sheets to receive term sheets from investors. Find a good lawyer or good advisor, a good mentor, sit down with them and develop your own term sheet so that you are prepared for the discussions and negotiations with investors, because they will always tell you, you do not need a legal expert to talk to me. And that's true from the perspective of an investor. They do not need legal experts. They just need lawyers for paperwork because they are familiar with all the deal terms. However, most startup founders are not. And it's really important to be on a same level playing field, to talk, to discuss, and to negotiate with investors and business angels. And therefore, come up with your own term sheet, or at least discuss an own term sheet among the founders before you go out and talk to investors. Yeah, that's it from my perspective. Should you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, to meet me for lunch or for a coffee. I'm always more than happy to help, to share my experience with entrepreneurs and founders. Yeah, that's it from my side. Looking forward to the other presentations. Thanks.
Thanks, Dennis and Chiara, Philipp, for your great learning. So now it's me taking over, and I prepared some charts. So I'm by far the oldest person here. So therefore, I still rely on charts when I do my presentation. So Eugenio or Britta, could you just bring my charts up, please? Perfect. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm super happy to be here. I'm actually a good friend of Britta, who asked me to join today. That's something very rare for me. And I'm quite, let's say, a shy entrepreneur. So I rather don't go to conferences, or you will not find pictures if you try to find pictures from myself in Google or somewhere. So I'm still very happy to join today, because I think it's a very, very great initiative, and therefore I'm super happy, and I really enjoyed very much to hear from Chiara, Dennis, and Philipp what they presented. So now I guide you through my journey, And very much like Chiara, I was also born in a small village, not in Bavaria, but somewhere around close to the border already to Luxembourg. And I always wanted to study in Frankfurt. Why Frankfurt? So Frankfurt was for me at that time, I was born 69, was at that time maybe something that today young people think about Shanghai, or maybe 10 or 20 years ago about New York. So Frankfurt was for me like, I really want to live in a big city, and this is my main goal. So I convinced my parents, they didn't like the idea at all, that I study at Frankfurt University, which was not really very good ranked, the Frankfurt Goethe University. There were much better universities already at my time, maybe not the private ones we all know today, but there was already Mannheim very good, Cologne very good. But for me, there was, even though maybe the cities were bigger than Frankfurt was at that time, but still for me it was like boring. So I managed to convince my parents. I studied in Frankfurt, and I had 2 previous experiences in fast-moving consumer goods multinational companies. And there, the main reason I left the first one was I really had the feeling that things were just far too slow. So I couldn't really bring my energy into really something that that I thought is the right speed to do things. And then secondly, in the second company, I had the feeling that there was a clear business opportunity that I saw, and I tried also to convince at that time my management to follow me. And that was where finally my business idea ended then up to be, because it was the clear feeling that consumers in makeup never had really a very good offer at a very good price with a super quality and a very high innovation rate. So you might think that's not possible, but it is possible. And if you would see the percentage of COGS that really high price brands have, maybe you would never buy any high priced cosmetic product anymore, because all the money goes into the marketing, of course, models, influencers, actors, whatever. And the price really of the product that you pay is super, super small. And the idea was then to just turn the business model and the P&L around, putting everything in the product, saying the product is the hero. This is what finally, maybe like Emma mattresses, that convinced me every day. So this is the best marketing that you can ever have. So every morning when you had a very good sleep and you like your mattress, or every morning when you use your makeup and you really, really like it, and then on top you have the feeling, wow, that was a very reasonable price, then there could be no better campaign on earth than this feeling. And for sure, you will also share that feeling with a lot of other people, because you really get a brand ambassador, because you get an emotional bond to this brand, because it brings you something good every day. So therefore, when I started to promote my idea in the company I was working for, the management in Europe was not really convinced. They allowed me at least to do a test, which was, by the way, very successful. And therefore, I had already the feeling it was not only my idea or my feeling that there is really a gap in the market. There is something consumers really lack and want to have. But they even showed by the real market test that I was not wrong, that it was really a market there and not a niche like many people said. So actually the idea was that we said, and maybe then next chart, please. Thank you. So the idea was really to say, we want to offer makeup for all. and it shouldn't be like crap, what was maybe already existing in the market when you were not able or willing to spend a lot of money. But it was also not like a luxury moment. And a lot of people said either consumers, especially women, even though more and more men happily and luckily are starting to use makeup, especially in Asia, as maybe some of you know. And a lot of people said, like, you know, a little bit like women want to be cheated. They want to spend a lot of money, and then they feel like, good, because I spoiled myself, and I could just not believe that they say, like, you know, women are stupid. They just want to spend a lot of money, and then they already feel fine, even though it is absolutely not necessary. So we said a little bit, we are the communists of makeup. So we want beauty for all. And then next chart, please. We came to a mission, and this is the mission that we were writing down, like our hearts beat for everyone in this world. When we started, we said for every woman. So this we changed like somewhere in the middle, because I started the company 2001, and the market entry was 2002. So we are already 18 years old now, being in the market by now. And therefore, we want to offer everyone the products and also the brand experiences, because makeup is also a lot of experience. Even today in the digital world is getting more and more experience. You have tutorials, you have a lot of possibilities to really show what the makeup can be. Like today I feel different, and I want just to also show that to people. And yes, that was our mission from the beginning, to say everyone should be able to feel more beautiful at any time. So with that mission, today we are in around 80 countries. So even if our startup is already, yes, even already past puberty, so we are already 18 years old. So we are not that young anymore. We are selling currently around 500 million products to consumers in the world. Britta said it at the beginning, it is the #1 position that we have in Europe with our brand. And still there is a lot of room to grow for us. So we really feel we are still somewhere at the beginning, because we are very much Europe-centered still, from our B2B clients as well from our B2C clients. There's a lot of room for us to grow still in Asia, also in Latin America. So we don't feel ourselves as a company that is already like really a grown-up company. Next chart, please. So here are my learnings. Everyone was really making it to cut it down to 3 or 4 learnings. Unfortunately, I have 7, and I even have a number 8. So I try to guide you through as fast as possible. So my first one, make sure your business solves a real consumer need. I think Dennis said it, and it's true. If there is a market, you might not be the only one that finds this market or this consumer need. But on the other hand, if there is no consumer need at all that you are serving, there will never be a success. So if nobody wants to know something about cancer, so Chiara wouldn't be successful. The same for the mattresses. Everybody says, I have the best mattress in the world. So then Dennis and his co-founder could go home. The same for Philipp, with all the things that he's doing. If he wouldn't be better than others, serving needs better than other companies, then we never would be here, all the 4 of us. And I can tell you, we had also launched a lot of projects that were not successful. So we never did our job always right. So today you see 3 brands, but we tried a lot more. So at least half of them, they don't exist anymore. And like always, people are not talking about those that are already dead. People only talk about those that are still rising stars. So this is one of my biggest learning. Never fall in love with your own ideas and your own problems. Really try to think, is there a need? And maybe others see the same need, but still then you have to do it better than the others. Because if you serve or solve a consumer's need or problem better, then actually this is the best starting base that you can have in the world. The second one is very much maybe also to my personality. Chiara said, so don't listen to people, or don't be too, let's say, too scared when people tell you maybe you are not right, or it's not going, it will not be going well. I'm really a naive optimist. So I'm maybe more like Dennis' partner. So I'm always the one seeing the opportunities, seeing the possibilities, and I need a partner. Luckily today, it is my husband. So he's my complementary. So he's the one being very structured, process-oriented, fact and figure-driven. And when I'm the one saying like, oh, and we can do this and this and this, and he will say like, okay, wait a moment. Maybe before we start flying to the moon, we should maybe first go to the next hill and have a view if we are still feeling fine on that height instead of going the whole way. So therefore, for me, I can only say it really helped me at the beginning, because there was, I think, no second when I thought it will not work. And all those people that told me, but what if, and so on, it just couldn't harm me. And of course, maybe this is not something that you can give really as an idea to other people, because it's very much about your personality. But maybe at least you have someone, if you are the one that is much more realistic or even pessimistic, maybe you look for someone in your surrounding that plays this role and that really tells you like it's going to work. Because for me, I really had the feeling it was a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, like I wrote here, because I was so inspired and so absolutely sure about it's going to work. And I think this energy was always then convincing my partners. Then the third one, stay true to your beliefs and values. So in some markets, we are even not today, like for example in the UK, which is a huge market. Why? Because all the retail partners there tell us like, you're just too cheap. We don't want brands at that price point. So rather you just increase your prices, or you are not really of an interest. So then we, until today, just said, no, thank you. And I think finally, if you really offer something that is great, one day everybody will come back to you. So don't try to really change your business model because potential partners are asking for that. If you really have something that's very good and consistent and really is the right thing, what consumers want, don't give it away, and just stay true, and success will come. Maybe from another area, maybe from another partner, but it will be there for sure. Then the number 4 is more or less what everyone before me, Philipp, Dennis, and Chiara said already. So the consumer is always the most important person. When I started, there was actually no data available. It was just the start of, there is internet, let's say it like this, there is internet. Secondly, step by step, there were the first online shops just emerging, and on a very, very, very basic level. So we tried at that time, of course, differently and much more difficult than today, to learn as much as possible about consumers. So what we said, we did never market research just to prove our decisions, but we really try to understand the psychology of our consumers. So what do they actually want? And we were traveling a lot to other markets to see what's happening there, markets that are earlier adapters than Germany is, where we all know that Germany maybe is not, especially in fashion or beauty, the first adapter market. So the idea of we are all here only because the consumer gives us the right to be here, and we should do everything to serve the consumer and not just ourselves, because maybe I have the feeling or the idea there is a very nice business or a nice product range that we should launch. if the consumer is not really looking for that, there is no reason that these products or assortments should be there. And the second thing, it was also mentioned by everyone, and I was laughing when Philipp, no, I think it was Dennis, told some things about the culture, which I thought is like, hey, he was stealing my words, because I very often said things like, you know, even if the intern is the one having the best idea, then please, we listen to him. There is no right or no reason why the boss has the best idea, not at all. Let's discuss, let's listen to it, and let's then decide what is the best way to go. So in our culture, we have a principle that we call high performance and people focus. So we are very ambitious. We want to be the #1. We want to sell products to everyone in this world. And that is our clear goal. So we really ask people also to be passionate, to be entrepreneurial, to work a lot. At the same time, we are very, very people oriented. And I really liked what Chiara said, like, okay, you don't have to be the person that is rude, and this is the typical leader that maybe some generations ago were the ones where you thought, okay, the more rude you are, the better you are as a leader. So we really have a very soft culture. We have a very female-oriented culture. 85% of our employees are women. We have more than 90% females in our leadership positions. And therefore, of course, our culture is already by that nature a very different one. And we really try, even if it's getting more and more difficult, and Dennis, you will also see that when you grow now much faster even than we grew, and we grew already very fast, you will see it's getting harder, that you really can have an eye on every employee. But this is really what we want to keep. So if there is a person having a problem, we have also now 2 young ladies, they have cancer, and I already wrote down your app, Chiara. So we really support them. We try to, even maybe if they are having not the financial possibilities to get the treatment that they need. So we really, in our HR department, which is not called HR, because I think this is a very bad word, because humans are no resources. So we call it the people department. And they always have the right to really help people that come and have whatever problem. It can be psychological one, it can be a physical one, it can be family problem. So I think that's very important. And I believe if you get a very good balance between those 2 topics, saying, yes, we are ambitious, we are not here just to have a nice time together and a nice party, but we are always there to help you, and we see you, we recognize you, we value that you are there, because we only can do this together, then you have the best base to be successful. Then the #5 is maybe very old-fashioned, and Philipp maybe would say like, okay, you have no clue, my dear, because in today's world, of course, getting financed and finding investors is very important. I still saw a lot of very promising competitors that too fast were selling too much of their stakes to private equity. And I saw really the companies and the brands losing their soul. So my really very personal advice would be, even if you need investments, and luckily we never needed investments. Why? Because the idea from the beginning was that we are paying our suppliers that were much, much, much bigger than we were in 90 days, but we were paid from our B2B partners in 30 days. So that was our financing model. So we never needed any external financing. But this is maybe not possible for everyone. So that was just, yeah, we were lucky that we could negotiate that, and we are still living from that, because if you grow rapidly, and maybe Dennis, you exactly know what I'm talking about, you need a lot of money, of course, a lot of cash. And therefore, for me, what I have just experienced from others is if you sell the majority stake of your company too early, then it will be very difficult to keep your culture, your ideas, your mission, because then there's just a completely different interest that is entering than the decision making in your company. Number 6, I think this is something very, very, very often is said, and I still believe it's very important, dare to make mistakes. I have the feeling today younger founders are much more open to that. My generation was much more, let's say, perfectionists. So we were really more teach like, okay, everything you do has to be the right thing. But if you are really growing fast, you need to really try out things. You really have to test things. You have to learn, and sometimes also you have to fail. So I think it's nothing that you never heard, and that is not written today in every book. But even as a more maybe old generation founder, for me, it was really something I had to learn. It was not in my nature, it was not in my education, but it was something that really helped me, and that today I would never like to miss. Then number 7 is quite a boring one, but it was also something that I have learned. Never bypass legal and finance. This is maybe what Dennis said, it is more his maybe area. So if I wouldn't have not only my husband, but also a very big team that is very, very much in details, into figures, into where is the legal border, a personality like myself would maybe had already some troubles, and maybe the company would even not exist because I would have maybe gone too far. So we are also privately and also via the company invested in quite some startups. And I very often see that there are a lot of passionate, great people with great ideas, but very often, and that was also maybe what Philipp said, look for really great lawyers, look for people that can help you if you are starting a business, because this is maybe seems to be boring for a lot of people. It also is quite boring for me. But if this base is not working, then you will be maybe, you could have maybe been successful, but maybe you are bankrupt before you get to this point. And then I wrote a number 8, even after I was sending the charts to Britta. Never stop learning, especially if you are successful. It's quite easy to get a little bit like spoiled, and even maybe a little bit like, okay, I'm the best feeling. So what can harm me? What can stop me? And times are changing with COVID-19 at the moment, especially very, very dramatically. But even without that, we have really learned you never can stop to learn and to question yourself. Stay humble. Never think that you already reached everything. There are a lot of great people out there, and they will also have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of hunger and lust also to make a great business. So watch them, look what you can learn from others. And yeah, I think this is a very good base, not only to be start up successfully, but also to continue to be successful. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. And now I guess Britta is going to take over again.
I guess we're missing Britta. She was unable to come back online. I'm going to therefore share 1 or 2 slides, and then we'll go over to the Q&A directly. So let me just then take a second to talk about the Founder Institute. It's the world's largest pre-seed accelerator. In February of this year, we finished our first semester with the Frankfurt Founder Institute chapter, where we had 8 companies graduated. Founder Institute is present in 180 cities. We have over 4,000 alumni that have graduated from the program. And we're starting a new semester on the 25th of August. This month in July, we have on the 14th of July, We are finishing up the early admission period. So there's a discount if people join now up to the 14th of July. If you want to learn more, go directly to fi.co join. You'll see the program there. You'll see the details about it. I'm not going to take more time. Everything's online, so go online and see what the program's about. Then we have a series of questions for our speakers, so we'll go directly into that. And the first question was for Chiara. Do you have a background in artificial intelligence? And if not, how did you learn about machine learning and AI to work on this app?
That's a great question. So I don't have a background in AI. I have really good colleagues who have done that for a lot of years. Also, our CTO was the head of AI at IBM Watson before. So we have a lot of knowledge in a Plexus company. And the app itself doesn't work with AI. Where AI comes into play is at InnoPlexus level, and InnoPlexus provides the data for the app. So there is no learning inside the app. But in the data part, where data comes from and how it is structured and indexed and recognized.
Then what are your expectations in terms of growth for Curia?
Mm-hmm. That's also a good question. So we will, so I mentioned we have 10 indications right now, so cancer types, and we will grow in 2 directions. So we will add more cancer types to the app, and at the same time grow on a geographic level. So we are preparing our US launch also in this moment. And then we will expand to Europe too, and also plans for Asia are being discussed. So yeah, geographic and on the topic of the app, we will grow.
So another participant asks, they're happy to see digital health coming out of Frankfurt. So am I. It's one of my areas. Can you elaborate a little bit on your marketing and sales strategy in this domain?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I could talk like 2 hours about it, but I try to keep it short. So since we're an app, we're focusing a lot on online channels, because it's of course easy to link the app there and make it easy for people to download it. But we also try to cover some channels, since some cancer patients are also older, not all, but some, to work with flyers or with caregivers to reach them through also offline channels. So we're using, there's a community on Instagram, also on Facebook. Then we're working with ads also, but a lot of times also with partnerships, which we're talking to different potential partners, which are like cancer associations or patient advocacy groups. So they also have a good reach, like a good patient base, and are always interested to inform their patients about innovative solutions on the market. So that is also another channel for us.
Okay. I have also a question around recruiting now that you're growing, now that you've launched your app. What makes people move to Curia or InnoPlexus versus the bigger equivalent corporations in the region?
Mm-hmm. I would say that is the vision, like also passion to do something which has an impact, which also convinced me to move to InnoPlexus, because I believe for a lot of people, it is important to work for something they really believe in and they want to have a positive impact in the world. And I also think a lot of people see that in our company. So that is one reason which most of the people moves to come to us. And I think also kind of the culture part, of course, they don't know it before, but we try to also transmit this in interviews that also we're taking care of a good culture. We also have like a very flat hierarchy, and it's kind of like a family here for us. So I think that's also what people like. It's not like coming to work 9 to 5 and then going home. It's more like we're all working on a mission, and being part of the mission kind of doesn't feel like work anymore. And I think that's also what people excites and what makes the team so happy to work for us.
I think that's a common theme I've heard not only tonight, but often, that the startup culture is one of the factors of success. I know it's a little bit early for you to be thinking about this, but it comes up as a question. Do you have an exit strategy? And is it possible to answer this early on about what happens if you decide to move the project in a different direction?
So I'm not planning that so far. I think it's indeed a bit early to answer.
Yeah, I thought so too. Philipp, for you, curious to hear how you, what you feel the Wincopter team did well when attracting investors and fundraising beyond Germany.
Yeah, many things. Just allow me some sentences on Wincopter, or the history of Wincopter in a nutshell. Wincopter was founded by Jonathan Hessenbauer, Tom Plummer, and Ansgar Kadura. So 3 students from the university. And in the early days, they bootstrapped until they had developed the product, had proof of concept, and had first traction. And I think Wincopter brings everything on the table what international investors are looking for. They have a great diversified team. And in the last months, they scaled up the team to over 60 people, and they will scale it up in the next 12 months by additional 100 or 150. They have a superior technology and a product. They have a patented tilt rotor technology. So the drone, it lifts off like a helicopter, and then the rotors, they tilt, and it becomes a plane. And they are the Guinness World Record holder for such aircrafts with a speed, I think it's over 240 kilometers. So they did win the world record. Moreover, they are winning nearly every drone competition where they're participating in. For example, in May, they did win the competition from World Bank in Rwanda. And you can find really beautiful videos on YouTube or on their website on their product, and that it is working, where they are delivering vaccines and medical equipment to remote areas. So the great product. And last but not least, the drone delivery market is huge. So for us here in crowded Frankfurt region, it's hard to imagine drones flying around and delivering goods. However, Frankfurt is not representative for the world. There are really great opportunities in the United States, in Africa, Australia, Asia, where you need to overcome long distances. And when you go on TechCrunch, you can find a press announcement that Wincopter is partnering with UPS to build up their drone delivery fleet. And I think those 3 elements together, great idea and product, great team, and really a huge market, makes Wincopter attractive for international investors.
In terms of IP, how large of an impact does that make for the investment opportunity in this case and in general when you see IP as being a factor for the success of investment in these companies?
So let me answer this let me give a general answer. So there is no true answer for that. It's every case, every startup is quite different, and it's also depends on the industry how important patents are. So for example, for certain industry, patents are key element, key assets. For other industry, speed and execution is more important because you do not have the time to defend your patents because the technological development is so fast. And maybe you would, even as a startup, not be able to defend a patent against, let's say Apple or something like that, yeah, for example, in a telecommunication sector. Therefore, there is no clear answer. More important than patents is always speed and execution.
Okay. For Dennis, I think, what do you consider are the key steps or secret formula to achieve great execution? Setting up good goals or something else? Cosnova has the company incubator, the Sign Tribe. Do you personally invest, or is the Sign Tribe open for investments in companies that develop drugstore items? The person asking this question is a founder and would like to get in touch to discuss this. Christina, I think you're.
Yes, now I'm here. So yeah, I think it was a question from Florian. I was just starting to write you back, Florian, but now, of course, it's much better if I can answer it directly. So the Sign Tribe is one of our new business activities. So we have founded internally a new business hub, and there is also an innovation hub that is serving, of course, both the core business and the new business. And the Sign Tribe is one of our new business opportunities that we have started. So the process is the following: we have twice per year a pitch, where at the moment, let's say 90% of the ideas are coming out of the company. So we have like then entrepreneurial founders that present ideas in a pitch, and we decide then on which we are going to invest. And one of them was the Sign Tribe. So yeah, you can get in touch for sure, and we can see if there is a possibility to do something together. We are absolutely open to this.
Question also for you, Christina. Did you source your products? Did you source products and branded those with Cosnova, or how did you go through manufacturing your products? Basically, are you sourcing fully manufactured products? Are you building your own? I think is the question.
Yes, of course, that's a very valid question. So when I started, I did the mistake that I said we would never have our own logistics and we would never have our own production, because there are so many companies out there that are really professional in doing that. So one, we have already skipped. So by now we have our own logistical center and our own fulfillment. But until today, we have no production our own. So what we were doing is we have, of course, a very, let's say, good equipped and very experienced quality team. And when we brief products, very often we have already samples where we say it should look like this. This is the texture we would like, but we brief it to those suppliers where we believe that they are the right ones. So why not having an own production? In the company that I worked before I founded Cosnova, I saw that the cosmetics industry, especially the makeup industry, is so trend oriented. So that if you really invest in your own factory, whenever you have built up the machine, you might already be too late and you could already throw away your production lines because no one is really asking for that anymore. So rather than answering and offering the products and the assortments that consumers want, you just try to fill up your lines and to use what you have. So that was my clear learning. And therefore, we are working together with, in total, 80 suppliers. 95% of our products are coming out of Europe. Our biggest country where products are coming from is Italy. We also have very big suppliers in Germany, in Poland, and funny enough, in Luxembourg, where you might never think that there is something else than the banking industry located. But there is a very, very big nail polish supplier. And this is our partner more or less since the beginning. So yeah, that are our biggest, let's say, supplier countries. Most of the people always think that we might produce everything somewhere in the Far East, which is not true. Why? Because our volumes are so high. Very often we can even for packaging have a better offer from Germany or the Netherlands, for example, where we also get a lot of packaging from, than from China, because then the automation is playing into that game, that even a German company can offer better prices per piece, which is very important, of course, to us to have a very good price for a very good quality, than someone producing in China, because there is a lot of manual work still in our industry. Mm-hmm. And that's yeah, how we work and how we organize our supply chain.
Okay. When you started up, did you have mentors and a board of advisor at the start? And how have they supported you on your journey?
So actually what I did when I wrote down my business plan, I thought about people that I have met so far, where I really thought they were inspiring. They really can give me a very good challenge. So I contacted all of them, in total 5. And they were, let's say, the first challengers or mentors. And I think it was really a good process in contacting those people that you already know from past experiences that can really help you to give you a very good advice. And yeah, some of them are still very deeply connected. Else than that, I really appreciate over already the last, let's say, 15 years to have some coaching from time to time. It's not the same person for 15 years, but it's always good to look a little bit deeper into some of the issues where you have the feeling, actually, they are maybe not really good for myself, and maybe they are not so good for my surrounding. When I was starting the first 5 years, I had no time at all for that. But when the team got a little bit bigger, I really thought that's something where you can grow and learn and without changing yourself, but work on those areas where you have the feeling actually they are even maybe not the best for yourself and for your surrounding.
And a question about decision-making, really, in terms of when you do your market test and you have numbers that were against against a specific launch of a product. Did you ever go against that and launch the product? And was it still successful?
Yes, actually, you know, what we actually, I think we have never done a market research to test a launch. So we tried to include consumers as far as possible. Now today is of course much easier to include consumers in A/B or multiple testings. So there was never really the point where we had to say consumers said no and we still said yes. But for sure we have taken decisions where we said like, okay, maybe it's very risky, maybe it has a very bad calculation, but we still think that we should launch it because we believe in that product and it will build up the image of our company. And that was something that I always would do again and that I recommend to do from time to time. Of course, you have to make sure that the balance of your P&L is good, but sometimes it's even good to launch something that financially doesn't make any sense, but you are really sure that consumers would value it. And of course, that can only be a very, let's say, small portion of your assortment.
Okay, thank you. I have, since we are a little bit over time, I'm going to just take the last two questions. For the other questions, I would suggest reaching out directly to our panelists. So I'm just really going to cover these two last questions. We've all appreciated the stories that you've shared. They've been great. Philipp, you've mentioned already some interesting books. Chiara, Dennis, Christina, can you recommend some books that you find particularly inspiring or helpful, particularly in your startup journey?
Read books from yoga gurus because because they have a totally other way of thinking, and often I feel like we're stuck in society's rules, and to be aware of that and be able to think outside the box, it inspires me so much, and it kind of makes me more creative and open to challenges, ideas, and everything.
Christina, do you have a particular recommendation?
So I read also, I try to read a lot. I don't have now more a business book that I would recommend, like this is one of those that really still stick to my mind. But the naming and the feeling of this is something that we really share was a book that I was reading, and even we, of course, in alignment with the author, gave our name to our leadership principles, high performance and people focus. And this is a book, I'm not sure if it's available in English, but it's a German gentleman. By now he should be around 80. And he was sharing his leadership and culture idea. And his name is Frank Breckwold. And the book is called in German, Hochleistung und Menschlichkeit. And that was inspiring us also in our culture, because we had the feeling that something like 85 to 90% of what he was writing was more or less talking about how we see it to lead a company. And therefore I would recommend it for those that can read it in German.
Great, add it to my reading list and work on my German at the same time. And then one final question, Philipp, this might be more for you in terms of your overview across a variety of startups, but I'm sure that everybody can provide input into this. Could you give some insight on, in terms of startups, in which industries do startups benefit better from moving to Frankfurt compared to either the Berlin-Munich pair or the Paris-London pair?
Wow, that's hard to answer. As a rule of thumb, or what's the perception of the market, is that the Rhine-Main area is perfect for B2B business, because it is in the heart of Europe. We have really great connections, in particular plane connections. Okay. Not so much of an issue in times of COVID, but certainly starting then again in next year. Frankfurt is the perfect spot for B2B startups, I would say.
Okay.
Not so much for B2C.
Any other ideas? I have my own perception about that, but any other ideas?
Well, it's always, people always say go to Berlin because in Berlin wages are lower or rent is cheaper, but I think that's not true. So it's really also hard to attract very good talent in Berlin. When you go to the center of Berlin, it's as expensive as in Frankfurt. And as I said before, you have to look at Frankfurt region. Yeah, we have Eschborn with really low commercial tax. Yeah, we have great cities with great talents like Darmstadt, Gießen, etc. So you must not be based in the heart of Frankfurt. Yeah, it's nice and fancy to be based there, but you must not. You can also go to Offenbach. Yeah. Or between Frankfurt and Offenbach, you find a cheap office space. So you need to just to be flexible, and yeah. Therefore, there is only one factor where we have a disadvantage here in Frankfurt. Most VCs and international VCs, they are not located in Frankfurt. Mm-hmm. So it's tougher to get in touch with them. But however, come on, you can drive to Munich, you can drive to Berlin and pitch there. So nowadays, or with video conference calls, that's not just a high burden. But I think compared to Munich and compared to Berlin, that is the con of when you're looking for pros and cons for Frankfurt region, that would be a con.
Christina, Dennis, Chiara, do you have a... So thank you all. I think we're just going to go ahead and close the call. We're a bit over time. I want to thank you for a really interesting session and really quite insightful.